What's going on, Comic Book Nation? Jim Viscardi here, and we are live at Comic-Con 2019 talking to none other than Dan DiDio, who I love talking to every year, publisher at DC Comics.
I really enjoyed this as well, too.
This is
great.
I'm going to start off with something that I've asked you for the last 2 years,
Okay.
and we got earlier this year because I'm super excited about it. We finally have some Legion news.
I knew you were going to bring up Legion. That's the way we got to open these shows. Some good news for a change, right? You got your Legion.
Yeah. So tell me about that. When did Brian, was this a thing that Brian came to you guys with? Did you go to Brian with? What was the putting those pieces together?
A little bit of both. I mean, naturally, when Brian came on board, we wanted to find some key books for him to do.
Right.
Strangely, everybody thought he was going to take on Batman, but he wanted to try Superman, so that was something we worked with him on. And then, naturally, Superman gave us Legion, and it actually connected the dots and got us to Legion, which is where I wanted to see. I mean, I've been loving what he's been doing on the Young Justice books and also the Wonder Comics. The Superman stuff is starting to really come together with Event Leviathan, but Legion's where it's at.
Nice, excellent. So funny is on that note of the Wonder Comics books, Naomi has been a great breakout hit.
It is, and it's, you know what, it's so hard for things to break out, so when it does happen, you want to take advantage of it. And we had a plan for these 6 issues, but we know we didn't want to let the character sit quiet. So he's actually bringing Naomi into a big action comics arc that he's doing.
Oh, very
Superman.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so in order to make it really big, we're going to have the Justice League in it, and actually John Romita is going to join him on the art.
Oh, that's
awesome. Which is going to be awesome.
That's going to be a ton of fun.
Yep.
And like you said, it's really cool. When you have someone like Brian Bendis, who can come in and just start planting a bunch of seeds, let him grow a little bit, and then it's just pull him into some of the big stuff. When you have a talent like Brian, what are some of the things that you want to make sure playing to Brian's strengths? When planning some stuff.
Well, it's interesting. If you look at Young Justice and the Event Leviathan books, I think that plays to his real strengths. It gives you the dark and gritty undertones of Metropolis with Event Leviathan, and also the secret Empire-style world building that goes on behind the scenes of something greater, something greater taking place that I'm not fully aware of. And then Young Justice brings the younger voice to what's going on there. And I think if you look at the talent they're working with right now, if you see Brian working with the Superman titles and the Wonder Comics, you got Scott Snyder doing the big story, epic story in Justice League. You also have Grant Morrison coming on in Green Lantern and helping reinvigorate that series. And then Tom King's finally getting to the City of Bane storyline, something we've been anxiously awaiting for. So that's actually going to start to pull a lot of what he's been working together and really get us to the second half of this year, which you start to see the threads of the DCU start to come together under the umbrella of Year of the Villain.
So is this all basically setting up for a gigantic 2020 for DC?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, to be, you know what? I mean, we could pretend.
Right.
No, but I mean, the reality is we have a lot of this mapped out all through 2020, and a lot of the pieces are starting to come together. And I think that's something that's important for us. Part of the Year of the Villain was to give us the setup, start to introduce and put the players on this table. Then you had the Batman Who Laughs breaking out, and we wanted to build off of that. Then we had the Apex Lex, we call them. Apex Lex starting to organize the villains on this side. So there's something happening over there. Then you have Event Leviathan dealing with all the agencies of the DC universe. And you start to see them starting to slowly get either taken over or destroyed as this giant monstrous machine starts to, basically spread its wings. And then the last piece of the puzzle, too, is City of Bane, because we always need Batman at the heart to understand who he is. But, in the middle of his story, you see Psycho Pirate. And Psycho Pirate's tied to a lot of big things, so it's not by accident that he's sitting in the middle of City of Bane.
All right, perfect. I wanted to talk to you a bit. Just a couple weeks ago, you guys had put out into comic shops sort of collected versions of your Walmart stories.
Yes.
Now that has sort of come full circle with the stories first appearing in the Walmart stores and then inevitably showing up in the comic shops. What have you guys learned from that? And can we see more? Experimenting from you guys?
We sat down with the Diamond folks yesterday.
Okay.
And we talked to the retailer base, and we announced that we're actually expanding that program to 8 titles.
Okay.
And what I love about this, it's not just superhero material, but there's ghost comics, and there's westerns, and the other things, all the different genres that I think really help broaden the appeal of just comic book storytelling, and also broaden the audience that we have. It's not just about superheroes. But that's also going to be offered in the Walmart stores as well as direct market simultaneously. We're expanding the number of original pages. So right now it's only 12, so we're pushing it up to 24. We're holding the same price because we want this to be an entry point. And while I can't get into it, we are finding other retail outlets that want to participate.
Okay.
So we're hoping this becomes a bit of a program to attract new casual readers and hopefully bring them into the stores themselves.
Nice. So you basically you are finding that people are picking up these books.
Yeah, it's
at
been
the
a very
lines, and
successful
they've been-
program. I mean, and we sat down and we're finding a way to expand on it. And I just don't want to do more of the same. I want to find a way
Right.
to get more stories out there, more characters out there, and more ideas out there. And you'll see in the wave that we're discussing that there's a Ghost book. There is a DC superhero girls book. There's a Scooby-Doo one. So
great.
it's going to be younger. It's going to be older. It's going to be a little bit of everything, just almost like the old newsstand rack.
Cool. Nice. No, you guys had another like sort of big announcement, a bit pre-ish Comic-Con. Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch getting back together for a Batman book.
Yeah, well, they've been working on it for a while.
So I was gonna say, okay, so
Yeah, we got a few of those in the can already.
okay.
And that's a little bit of what we've been doing. We've been getting a lot of these books started and stockpiling the material because we actually want to hit the ground running,
Right.
and not run into some stutter starts or stop and go that we might have with product. But this is a very unique product, so you want to make sure you have enough going. This is Warren working with Brian. They've been looking forward to working together. First 3 issues look beautiful, and I think people will be really excited by it.
So it's funny because it feels kind of like you guys are putting together some really killer creative teams on some nice sort of contained Batman stories. I mean, you have Scott and Greg on Last Night on Earth, Warren and Brian on this book, and then Tom King will move to his Bat and Cat story.
And also they also have like things like Sean Murphy going on White Knight.
Right, and doing a White Knight. So is that kind of again another sort of experimental type model that you guys are
Well,
taking?
You know what? I mean, a lot's been made about our output, and we've
Right.
actually limited the number of books that we're doing. But that's because we want a very focused approach for the main line and bring better continuity and better connectivity to the main line. But it doesn't mean we're putting out less product.
Right.
We're just putting out different types of product. And the books that we put out, the giants that we're putting out through Walmart are going to actually go to the direct market as well. We'll expand the mature line of books that are under the Black Label line right now. We're going to see that expand. But also it's the kids line that we're doing, the young adult line. And by 2020, you'll see us putting out about 4 graphic novels on a monthly basis as part of the young adult line. So we're going to have young adult books, we're going to have mature books, we're going to have the giants for casual readers, we're going to have the core line built for the hardcore fans looking for a shared world, and then we're going to have all this type of product out there. So the goal is, if you like our characters and like what we have, you could find your particular flavor in everything we have to offer. And that's one of the reasons why we decided to limit the number of imprints we have and brand everything under just DC. Because I think it's more important for us to show that DC is the one that is wildly diverse, more so than breaking up into small little buckets. And while a lot of people felt bad about things like Vertigo going away, it was important for us to announce the Joe Hill Comics line.
Yeah.
Because once you see Hill House Comics coming, you realize we're still in the creator-owned business, we're still in the horror business, we're still in the mature business. Everything that you were afraid was going to go away is in these books, so nothing to be worried about.
Nice. Now I want to step back into something that you kind of mentioned that I believe is where you're going to correct me if I'm wrong. So as we head into 2024, sort of your mainline direct books, and so your basically Big Hero ongoing stuff, are you guys focusing on trying to do a bit more of an encapsulated sort of continuity across the board with those books? Or
I like the shared world.
Right.
I love the connective tissue that takes place behind the scenes, so it all feels like they're all taking place in the same world.
Okay.
Different styles of story, different tones, but all still feel like they exhibit and take place in the same shared universe. And I think part of our goal is to bring that level of consistency to the character interpretations of the book. So that way one character, how he acts and behaves in one series should be the same in another, at least in the shared universe environment. I think that's stuff that people react better to, because then there's a level of consistency and expectation you can have with the books themselves.
Excellent. Cool. I'm going to ask just, there's 2 things I just wanted to see if we can check in about, more of an ask. Are there any plans to do something like Wednesday Comics again? Like, I know that was such a fun.
It was, it's a labor of love. And it was a labor of love of Mark Chiarelli, the editor of the book. He was the one who really shepherded that every way through, and we talked about doing a second version of that. Truth be told, it was so labor intensive and such a weird skill set, because ultimately what you were doing is you were telling really a 13-page story for 13 issues. I participated on the Metal Men one, and I got a chance, if only for the fact I got to work with Garcia Lopez and Kevin Nolan. And it was a lot of work to be able to find that cliffhanger to get you to the next week, and we thought about it. The shame of it was, the book started to fade as it went on, and I'm hoping that we capture the same sort of spirit in a lot of other books that we do.
Okay.
But it's a little hard to do that format again.
Fair enough. Breaking out of that, I mean, you're getting to write the Metal Men again.
Yeah.
That's got to be a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, it's it's one of those things that I shouldn't admit this. It's one of those books I kept on assigning out, but I didn't like what was coming back. And then ultimately I realized there was such a personal story I wanted to tell inside me that I wanted to do myself. And I have to be very careful just because of the amount of work that I have on my plate just with the real job. And I have to be as reliable as everyone else. So we actually have 4 issues in the can.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we did this, and I really was interested in what's going on in the media and what's happening with the characters. And I was looking at what was happening with Westworld and the exploration of the robots and the sentience of the robots, or the seemed sentience of the robots. And it was fascinating to me to try to explore those themes in a Metal Men and really be able to build out from there. And it's an interesting thing because I get to work with Shane Davis, and I love Shane. I've worked with him for so long. He's such a great storyteller, and to watch his art progress and grow, and the level of ownership he has over this project too. Anytime that I can work with a collaborator that really wants to bring, his own personality to the story as well as what I'm trying to tell is always more exciting to me, because I think that the whole is always bigger and better when you find somebody that you really work well with together.
It's a bit of an inside baseball question, but do you write like full script?
Oh no, I do plots. I love doing plots. I give them an idea of everything I want, but I love the challenge of when the art comes back, finding the words to match the pictures. Something fascinating about that. I mean, like I said, I've had some great people to work with. Kenneth Rockford and I probably had the best working relationship on Sideways, because he made those characters
his
his
work is so
own.
kinetic.
And it's so much energy in there, and it was interesting for me because I worked with multiple artists, and they all were great to work with, but the voice of the characters came so much more to life when Kenneth was drawing them, and I understood them so much better. Even myself, and we created them, and I know them better when I see him drawing them.
That's awesome. One last final question. Looking at 2020, who is the character that fans are going to need to watch?
Jeez. There's a lot of key characters next year.
Okay.
A lot happening. I guess one of the guys we should be watching is Jonathan Kent.
Okay.
We've watched him grow up. He's been a super son for a while, and people loved him in that environment. Now he's aged up a little bit. He's going out to Legion, and that's a bigger story for him. And where he comes back from there, if he comes back from there,
All right.
is something that will probably be a dynamic effect on the DC universe.
Awesome. Dan, thank you so much for coming by. I really do appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, man.
For more on Comic-Con 2019, keep it locked in to Comicbook.com.